Hi girls. Okay, so this is the first video about maths in sport and where it could be. So let's get into it. After a little bit of thought, I think that there's probably three main areas that you can look at in sport when it comes to maths. Okay, so first area that I think is kind of what we were speaking about before, which is descriptive geometry. Okay, and this is all to do with angles and things like that. And so, for example, we were speaking about if you're a golfer and you want to make your golf swing better, you know, what is the best direction? If this is a golf ball on a tee, you know, what's the best direction if there's your golf club behind it, to address the ball, or the golf swing, or the swing of the golfer to come in and hit the ball to get it to go the longest direction. And we could describe that very well. We could, analyze different golf swings, and you could get different golfers, coaches to, say that this is the best way to address the ball. This is the different angles and everything like that. You could look at something like how a ball flies through the air. So like if it's a basketball, how a basketball is thrown into a hoop, for example, or how a football is kicked into the goal. Now the ball is always going to fly in a parabolic curve. Okay, so that curve there, the path it takes through the air is always going to be parabolic. And I can teach you all about parabolas. I can teach you all about how you derive a parabola. I can teach you why it flies in a parabolic curve and not, a hyperbolic or any other type of curve, an elliptical curve or whatever. And we could do all that. And that's the first area that we could look at. Okay, and I'll come back to that in a second. The second area, I suppose, is something that you may not have heard about before, but it's very relevant to sport and also to economics, and it's this thing that's called game theory. Okay, and John Nash is probably the guy that you want to look into here the most. He's the guy who contributed, I suppose, the most relevant part of game theory. Okay, and game theory says that in any situation where you've got more than two people who are in that situation, they've got to make a decision about something, there's going to be winners and losers in that situation. Okay, and just say the most basic example is if there's two players. Okay, what John Nash's game theory says is that there is going to be a situation where we'll say there's two players, there's person A and person B. There's going to be a situation where person A wins and person B loses completely. There's going to be a situation where person B wins and person A loses completely. But then there's also going to be another situation where A and B both lose terribly. However, there's another situation where both A and B can mutually win, where they both win, where you get to a situation where everyone's a winner, and that is called Nash equilibrium. Okay, and that idea, that theory, is used in all over economics. So when economists are making decisions about where we should invest money, or it can be used in sports to coach, when coaches are used, in situations like in this situation, yes, it was a good idea to throw the ball forward into the attacking quarter or the attacking third, but possibly we could have went sideways and brought more attackers with us and got up there quicker. And it's all about decision making and kind of being mutually beneficial for more than one people. So that's in a situation, it's called game theory, and in game theory you've got more than one player. You want to look for a state of called Nash equilibrium. So there's the first two areas. The third area that I think we can look into is an absolutely huge area at the minute, and it's all to do with data analysis in sport. Okay, And you're going to hear words like figures, and you're going to hear words like performance criteria, and what basically what all of this area is about in sport is getting to a stage where coaches and players don't just rely completely on their gut instinct anymore, that they're relying on hard data to inform the decisions that they make. So for example, a coach in the past of soccer or football, if you want to call it football, would look at a player and say, okay, I really like his shooting ability, and I think he's good at heading the ball, and he's a good passer, okay, or she's a good passer. What a data analyst can do is that they can come back to a coach and say, well, you think she's good at shooting? Here are her stats for shots. She actually took 10 shots on target and didn't score 1 goal. She went up for 4 headers and didn't actually head the ball in an effective way at all. Okay, this is used hugely in all the American sports. It's used hugely in AFL down in Australia, and it's coming in more and more and more in all sporting areas. I actually got the idea for this from watching the Tour de France, and the huge amount of figures and data and everything that's behind all of the cyclists. Okay, I think the maths area that you can look at is matrices, okay, or matrices, or matrix, and I'll explain more in the following areas, or in the following videos about that. But I think there's your 3 areas. Okay, so we have descriptive geometry, which we spoke about, describing angles and things like that. We've got game theory, which is all about decisions when you're in a game or in a match or in a situation. And then down here is data analysis, which is hugely prevalent at the minute, coming into all different kinds of sports. The next few videos I'm going to make, girls, are going to be exploring these issues in more detail, and explaining how maths applies to these areas. Okay, thank you very much.